welcome to my channel. Today we're going to be doing makeup on my boyfriend Sean for his cosplay of the character Taako from the Adventure Zone. So to start out with, I'm using a primer oil on his face because he's got dry skin, because he doesn't use any skincare, because he's a heathen, and I just want to make sure that the foundation isn't going to look cakey or flaky on top of his skin. So next I'm going to use color correcting concealers because he's got a lot of pink in his skin and he shaved right before this, so we need to make sure that that razor burn doesn't come through under the foundation. I'm just going to blend that out, and while we're blending I'm just going to go ahead and mention that the Adventure Zone is a fantasy D&D podcast run by the McElroy brothers and their father Clint, the same people who make My Brother, and Me. So next we're going to take a mixture of two foundations, one that's meant more for my skin tone, which is very white as you can see, and one that's going to be a little bit deeper from NYX, and we're going to mix those two together. And as always, if you're interested in any of the products I use, I list them all in the description. If I miss one, comment and I'm happy to respond with what it is. So I'm just going to blend all of that out. And what we really want here is an even, clean, non-reddish base. I'm leaving out the area around his eyes because I'm planning on using concealer for that and eyeshadow, but we are going to take the foundation more onto his neck, both to make sure that it blends out well and to hide a little bit more of that razor burn. So now we're taking that concealer, like I said before, and I'm using a Tarte Shape tape concealer here because we want some high coverage. And I'm just going to blend that out all around his eyes. Now, a little bit of a tip for someone who's doing makeup on another person like I am here with Sean is whenever you're having to do something around the eye area, always have them look the opposite direction of where you're putting it. That way they don't get shy eyes and blink a whole lot. So now I'm just taking a setting powder and setting the face, focusing around the under eye area, any areas that I've heavily concealed, or areas that tend to get oily like the T-zone. Now I'm taking a eyeshadow primer. I didn't want to take too much of the foundation or concealer onto his eyelids like I usually do for myself, because I wanted something that was going to stick a little bit better here. And we're going to start by taking a more muted purplish tone from the Anastasia Modern Renaissance palette, and we're going to just mix this all over his eyelids. The color concept for this makeup is more of a purplish, muted, mauve kind of vibe. Something that has definition and color to it but isn't overly flamboyant and is going to help contrast the green, white, and black of his outfit. So we're just going to blend that out, make sure it's even. We're going to be using that as our main transition color. And next we're going to be taking a more muted grayish taupe color and blending that into the inner corners and along the crease of his eyes. When we were looking at the information for Taako and looking at other people's fan art when we were originally designing this look, we realized that a lot of people drew him with kind of downward droopy-ish eyes, and we both agreed that we really liked the way that looked. So I'm trying to mimic that look in Sean by focusing really heavily on the inner corners with the shading and the very outer edge of the lid, which we'll see more with the eyeliner. So right now I'm just building up that dark shadow and making sure that everything looks as natural as it can be with purples and grays on the eyelid. Next we're going to take a little bit more of a strong purple color, and this is going to be more of an iridescent sort of purple. It's going to have a bluish lavender shift to it, and that's going to give the eyes a little bit more color and make him look a little less dead. Next we're going to take a darker purple and use this as a secondary eyeliner. We will be going over this with a liquid eyeliner, but I do like to shade in first. That way it has a little bit more definition, even in the areas that don't get lined. And we're focusing this thicker on the outer edge and thinner as it goes inwards towards the inner corner of the eye. Next we're going to take eyeliner, and I'm sorry if you can't see this very well. In order for me to effectively do another person's eyeliner, I do have to get quite close to them, but hopefully you'll be able to see enough. Here I'm just making sure the two lines are as even as possible with each other. This does take a minute in order to do. So while I get this all sorted, here's a reminder that you can find The Adventure Zone and other McElroy Brothers podcasts both on Spotify as well as their own streaming services, and you can find the soundtracks online, which is what I did for the intro to this music. So what I'm doing now is taking the outer wing, and instead of winging it up like you would with a cat's eye, I'm winging it down slightly, which is a technique you often see in anime makeup. What the effect it has, though, is that it kind of draws the eyes downwards into a droopy fashion, which is what we want here. So I'm extending the corner out based on the angle of the eye when it's open, downwards a little bit past the lower eyelash line, and then I'm bringing it back in to that corner from the inner third, or the outer third of the eye. I also am trying to smudge it to make sure it's a little bit less strong and a little less defined on the inner corner. We aren't going for a comic type look here, so we want things to be a little bit more fused. Next, I'm taking that original first shade again, and I'm smudging out that outer corner again because I'm really trying to make this a little bit less defined. Even though it is black, we don't want it to look like one straight black line. And then I'm going in again with that dark purple eyeshadow that I used to line the corners of the eyes and blending that in as well. A lot of this look is creating a kind of subtle smoky purple eye and making everything kind of blend together even though it is bizarre looking. Next, I'm going to take that shiny color and put it on the inner corners of the eyes because I believe everyone can use a little light in their eyes. And next I'm going to contour. I'm using the lightest contour shade because we aren't going for anything crazy here. And I'm going to start on the jawline and around the cheekbone. And I am really trying to carve this out. Both Sean and I agree that he being Taako, has a pretty strong jawline as well as a pretty good bone structure. Sean already has a pretty nice natural bone structure, but it does tend to fade in when everything's whited out, so I'm just going back in and trying to redefine it. I am trying to keep this somewhat, I don't want to say natural, but I am trying to keep it less full glam. Sean doesn't wear makeup on the regular, so it's important that I make sure this makeup is comfortable for him to wear and that it doesn't feel like he's wearing a mask. I'm also contouring around the nose area. We both agreed that Taako would probably have a very pointy, angular kind of nose. And while Sean has a lovely nose, it's a little bit wider and a little bit stronger than what we imagined Taako's to be. I'm also reinforcing that contour with a little bit of extra powder highlight. Now I'm doing his eyebrows. Next, I'm going to be using the darkest color in the contour palette to emphasize his eyebrows. We want to make sure it's going to be something that isn't going to be too warm or too cool, and also is going to blend in very naturally. We are going for something soft and, while noticeable, not dramatic. Next, we're going to be taking a little bit of the dark eyeshadow from the Renaissance palette and emphasizing the front of his eyebrows with it. Now you can see here how his eyebrows look very different now. One is fully defined and has a sharp point to the tail. The other one is his natural eyebrow. We are wanting to retain a sense of masculinity here with these eyebrows. Taako is defined as a boy character, so it was important to us that while he still had a very glam appearance, he retained some of these more boyish attributes like thick, heavy eyebrows. Next, we're going to start with lip color. This is a color from the Sephora Collection. It looks quite purplish in the tube, but when applied it tends to turn out more of a gray-purple color. And for this we are going to be minorly overlining the lips. I'm not very good at doing other people's lipstick, especially on thin boy lips, but I do my best and we try and make it work. I've done a couple different styles for his lips in the past. I've done just this plain base color, I've done a gradient, and I've also done some line work to add little stars onto it. That tends to be a huge pain in the butt, so I didn't do it this time. For now, I'm going to be just going with a gradient using this purple and then a lighter purple on the inner part of his lip to make it look a little bit fuller. Now, I did mess up around the edges of his lips a little bit, so I am going to be going back in and cleaning up with a little bit of concealer here. Unfortunately, the concealer is significantly lighter than his skin, so it is going to take some work to blend out, but I'm gonna make it work. Now I'm going to add some mascara. Sean hates mascara, but I do insist on it. I don't think any eyeliner look looks complete without dark eyelashes, and since we were using some mid and light tone eyeshadows, they tended to get on his eyelashes and make them look even lighter. Now we're just going to add a little bit of highlight, because what person doesn't need highlight? And also to bring out that bone structure a little bit more too. Adding that to the top of his cupid's bow as well, and then on the center of his lips I'm going in with a lighter lavender purple color to just make things a little bit fuller and more even look. Here we've added the wig and the ears and the top of the costume, and I'm just going to be braiding the wig. I recommend when you use large elf ears like these, you put them on and then you put the wig on and then braid it. If you try and braid it and then put it on over the ears, it becomes extremely difficult not trying to pull the ears off, especially in a long wig like this. Now Sean is holding the ears down because in order to get this witch hat on, we have to push it quite heavily over his head and we don't want the ears to pop off. Just styling the wig a little bit, adding the cape as the last step, and we are pretty much done. You've got your Taako from TV.
And let me see what you have.
No!